Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, Tasmania has come under fire for failing to regulate taxpayer-funded advertisements, drawing criticism from the authors of a damning new report. The state couldn't even be included in the national study, which examined the politicisation of government communications.
When it comes to advertising, governments are big spenders.
The Australian government is investing in major transport infrastructure.
The Grattan Institute finding a quarter of the federal government advertising spend over the last 13 years had political overtones.
We see advertising that includes, for example, party colour schemes, party slogans. We also see this other type of politicisation where the government spruiks its own policies and its own performance.
The report examines federal and state mechanisms aimed at preventing politicisation of the public purse. Tasmania couldn't even be included thanks to our lax laws.
Let's keep on top of COVID.
I've got this grant.
The authors were only able to find a communication policy online that says advertising should be kept objective and apolitical.
That's a start, that there's a statement like that, but there's no real strength behind those rules. There's no real check and balance to ensure that that's actually being met.
We provide public education and information, but we do not spend money on political advertising in Tasmania.
But Labor claims these brochures advertising the state government's achievements are one example. Though they were ordered before last year's election campaign, they were circulated during it. They were found not to violate the Electoral Act and were paid for by the members' allowance.
Because we don't have the right laws and regulations here, they've never been held to account for that misuse of taxpayers' money.
The report recommends legislating tighter rules for advertisements, strengthening the approvals process and giving the Auditor-General the power to hand out real punishments, like forcing political parties to reimburse the taxpayer if they're in the wrong.
We're talking about taxpayer money here, and so it should be used in the public interest and not for political interests.
Tasmania's political system has long been criticised as lacking transparency. The government's proposed electoral donation laws would still be among the weakest in the nation. They're expected to be debated later this year. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
With the 5-day COVID isolation period set to end this working week, we're being urged to still stay home if feeling unwell. While businesses say the changes will ease the burden on overstretched workforces, others are warning the impact on our health could be far greater.
Cooking up a storm after a winter of challenges. Despite having more than 120 staff across their venues, Esky Group have been pushed to the limits by COVID.
We closed both venues for a week because we just had a majority of both teams. A lot of the staff were out and it was just too many for us to be able to open and continue service.
The mandatory isolation period of 5 days ends on Friday, removing the last major restriction. Tasmania's government, one of the main campaigners for the change, calling for greater personal responsibility.
And if you've got a cold or a sniffle or you feel unwell, you should stay at home, not go to work.
The Greens warning it's a recipe for disaster.
They go back into their workplace, they mightn't have a sniffle, but they're still infectious. That means other people will get sick.
The MP says we need to wake up to the impacts.
We're not getting better at all at protecting people from the virus being in our organs.
The change is supported by the business community. In a statement, THA CEO Steve Old says it will help asymptomatic people keep businesses operating by easing staff shortages. Also adding health and safety remains a priority. Esky Group encouraging its team to stay home if unwell.
If they're sick or they're unwell, they know they don't have to come into work. We don't expect them to be here coughing or sneezing or being unwell.
It's a message unions want all businesses to take on board, including with casual staff.
No sick leave is a big cause of infection and illness spread in our workplaces. It was before COVID and it is now.
A step forward into the unknown for our entire workforce. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
State parliamentarians have urged respect towards candidates in this month's local government elections, many reporting being harassed or bullied by other contenders and their supporters during the lead-up.
As a government, we encourage people to get out there and participate, be part of the democracy, but demonstrate that with respect.
It doesn't just demonstrate a commitment to good governance or to working together once elected, and I think Tasmanians are right to feel a little bit cynical and disappointed about what they've seen on show.
And a reminder, ballots must be returned by Tuesday, October 25. A coronial inquiry has found dark clothing and levels of intoxication were factors in the 2020 death of Tristram Parr. In his concluding statement, Coroner Robert Webster said the 29-year-old died while walking home to West Hobart after missing the bus at Bridgewater, a decision influenced by his intoxication. The report also found alcohol and cannabis traces in Mr Parr's blood. An outpouring of emotion has made its way online as the Newnham community mourns the death of Caleb Bowman, the 20-year-old soccer player tragically killed in Saturday's single vehicle crash near Oatlands. Caleb's Northern Rangers Football Club coach saying he was loved by everyone and will be sorely missed by all. The Mowbray Little Athletics Club also describing the young Tasmanian as an outstanding and dedicated athlete who made many friendships due to his fun and outgoing nature. Next year's Dark Mofo will be longtime creative director Lee Carmichael's final show after a decade curating the festival. Mr Carmichael will remain director of Dark Lab. A new artistic director yet to be hired will take charge of the Winter Festival from 2024 onwards. Next year's edition will be held between June 8 and 22. Hobart's rental market has slowed down, but values are still continuing to rise, according to new figures from CoreLogic. The city recording a 0.4% increase last month, just below the national rate of 0.6%. The report also revealing tenants are on average forking out $551 a week, putting the city ahead of Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth. A new youth at-risk centre is nearing completion, aimed at providing greater care to young and vulnerable Tasmanians. The facility will provide accommodation and support services to those who are homeless or at risk of homelessness.
A safe and supportive space for young Tasmanians to feel at home.
We want it to be a home. We want their families to know that they're safe. We want them to know that they're safe.
A new youth at-risk centre in Launceston has opened its doors, hoping to relieve the state's homelessness crisis.
Homelessness and vulnerability can affect just about anybody, including very young people, even children.
The facility featuring 8 independent units for vulnerable youths between 12 and 15 years of age.
They'll have access to a bathroom, restroom, and they'll have access to a kitchen, a laundry and everything that you would need to live independently.
We also have a gym upstairs. We have a bit of a games room where small pool table and some other games so that you can have a bit of a chill out space and build some peer relationships.
It's an all ability access, so we're also able to take in young people that may have a disability.
Accessibility, a key design element of the $2.3 million refurbishment with a lift on site, as well as a craft and sensory room tailored to specific needs. Youth, Family and Community Connections will also provide 24/7 wraparound services.
That might be mental health supports. We certainly have a focus on engaging young people in education. Other supports such as longer term accommodation, alcohol and other drug counselling where that's required. Lots of family supports.
We will do what we can to make sure that you feel welcome and safe, supported, that you can get back into education, that you can build your relationships with your family.
Providing a supportive network for the younger generation with a service to begin operating in the coming weeks. McKenna Bailey, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's soccer community is mourning the loss of a great stalwart. Former Football Tasmania President Sean Collins died last week, aged 67. He was a distinguished player, coach and referee during his long involvement with the game. Current Football Tasmania President Bob Gordon said he was larger than life and lived life to the fullest. The number of people passing through Launceston Airport has almost returned to pre-pandemic levels, according to figures from the first quarter of this financial year. More than 278,000 travellers were clocked at the terminal, just 31,000 fewer than at the same time in 2019. Launceston Airport says it's a sign it's bouncing back from COVID as it prepares to welcome back direct flights from Perth at the end of this month. Flights to Adelaide will resume in December. Metro has been forced to apologise to Jack Jumpers fans after cancelling a pre-game service. 11 minutes before tip-off, the bus operator took to Facebook to notify fans they weren't able to run a highly advertised special route transporting them to MyState Bank Arena. Fans took to social media claiming they'd already arrived at collection points. Metro has today assured fans that future services will run. It may not be Tasmania's best known sport, but fans have gathered across the state to celebrate World Pickleball Day, the up and coming game finding a loyal following in the state.
These players having a ball, converging in the north and south to have a friendly hit for World Pickleball Day. Kingborough opening the state's first dedicated courts in February last year, today filled with picklers dressed up for the occasion. The mix of tennis, badminton and table tennis seeing an explosion in popularity since it was introduced to Tasmania.
Tasmania, we've got 300 members with probably another 200 social members as well.
The smaller court size allowing players of almost any age to get amongst it.
And as we've gotten older, knees wear out, shoulders wear out. And the whole idea of pickleball is that most of it is underarm and it's very tactical.
Colin Mendoza only took up the sport in April. This year alone, he's seen his skills take him to the English and Scottish Open, as well as the World Championships in Bali and last week's National Championship in Brisbane.
I use it as a learning curve and you see what's involved and hope to pass the knowledge on.
Fellow Scottish Open player Ali Wheatley, another convert to the game, sent a ball and paddle by her brother.
He said, just find someone to play with, you'll love it. And I do. I love it so much.
Organisers are hoping to sign up as many new players as possible, with the sport to be showcased at the next Commonwealth Games in Victoria. The fledgling sport looking to produce Tasmania's next generation of talent. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
A popular wildlife sanctuary is inviting men through its doors after hours to discuss their emotions. It comes on World Mental Health Day, the government now developing its third suicide prevention strategy.
A friendly and well-known face bringing hope to both animals and humans. Bonarong Wildlife Sanctuary's Greg Irons opening up about his own mental health journey.
When I was a lot younger, most definitely I had a lot of things in my life that I had to analyse and look, I've always been lucky to have a really supportive family.
Now he's inviting others to do the same, hosting a mental health matters event tonight in partnership with Workplace Alive and Well Training.
It will predominantly be males, and there's a reason for that. Men have a lot higher proportion of suicide rates than females, 75% compared to 25%.
As a bloke myself, I know that it's not easy to chat sometimes, so making that the norm, that it is okay not to be okay and to have a bit of a yak, and then hopefully we can soften that with some nice wildlife and a wombat scratch.
The event is free of charge, neither party making any profit other than the satisfaction of knowing they're one step closer to reducing the stigma surrounding men's mental health.
For a long time it used to be said that men didn't talk about their feelings like women do.
Darren offering to do something like this when it's his line of work, that shows that it comes from a place of passion, that it's about making a difference.
It comes on World Mental Health Day, the government now consulting with Tasmania's public to develop the third and final suicide prevention strategy. And with Men's Mental Health Awareness Month fast approaching, there's no better time to check in on your loved ones. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Jack Jumpers coach Scott Roth is singing the praises of his team's fighting spirit after their thrilling overtime win against the Bullets.
Their fight and their energy was fantastic tonight, and it's just one of those things where sometimes the grind and sometimes the journey of getting knocked around a little bit builds some character, and I think it's good for us.
Playing catch-up for the first half of the game, the Ants defended the island, claiming a 4-point victory. The Jackies will next go up against the Adelaide 36ers on Thursday. Tasmanian triathlete Cameron Worth says he's coming back to Australia with lessons learned. He finished 11th at the World Championship in Hawaii overnight, completing the gruelling marathon, swim and bike race in 8 hours and 51 seconds. Finishing around 20 minutes behind the winner, the Hobart-born competitor is already looking ahead to next year.
I always say you learn the most from the days when it's the most difficult, and today was definitely a difficult one, and I just try not to throw my toys out of the pram.
Max Newman was the best placed Australian, finishing just outside the podium in 4th position. Launceston's Nathaniel Atkinson has come to the rescue for Hearts in the Scottish Premiership overnight. The Jammed Hearts had fallen 2-0 behind against Kilmarnock, including this howler from their goalkeeper Craig Gordon. 2-1 down with just seconds left in the match, the Riverside Olympic product produced a contender for goal of the season.
I don't really get up the pitch that high, but you know, to be fair, I've dreamt about it a couple of times. No right foot volleys, but left foot volleys.
The stunning finish allowing Hearts to steal a 2-2 draw and jump to 5th in the table.
Good evening. Hobart reached 19 today, Launceston 18, 17 in Burnie and 15 in Devonport. Friendly Beaches and Smithton both reached 18, 16 on King and Flinders Island, 15 at Low Head and 11 in Lyowheedy. Scattered cloud is lying over most of the state today, while a frontal cloud band is crossing over the Bight and into southern WA, with cold speckled cloud falling behind, and patchy low-level cloud can be seen over the eastern states, with much of the interior remaining cloud-free. Tomorrow, a large low-pressure system is slowly moving from the south of the Bight towards Tasmania, extending to a cold front over South Australia, and a high remains to the east of the Tasman Sea, extending to a ridge over the east coast of the mainland. Winds becoming northeasterly tomorrow, reaching up to 20 to 30 knots in the northwest and northeast. And there's a strong wind warning for the far northwest coast and east of Flinders Island. Mostly sunny and 19 in Hobart tomorrow, Adventure Bay 18, and early frost, then partly cloudy in Tarraleah. Partly cloudy across the north, 19 in Launceston and top of 17 in Devonport and Bridport. Burnie, partly cloudy in 15, becoming cloudy in Strawn, reaching 19, and 16 and cloudy in Marrawar. 17 and becoming cloudy in St Helens and Swansea, and 18 in Whitemark, and the UV remains at a high 6. Scattered showers developing on Wednesday, increasing to rain about the northwest in the evening. Thursday, rain across the state with possible heavy falls about the north, most likely about the higher ground. And Friday, rain clearing from the east with showers developing elsewhere, extending statewide in the afternoon, and possible isolated thunderstorms inland throughout the afternoon. Partly cloudy in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne tomorrow. Adelaide 24, 36 in Alice Springs and sunny in Broome. And right now in Hobart and Launceston it's partly cloudy and 14, and Devonport 13. And enjoy the last day of sunshine before some more rain later in the week. Kim.
It sounds a bit rough later. Thanks very much, Victoria. That is all your news for this Monday evening. We'll have updates later. Thanks for your company. Good night.